So in this video, I'll show you a prompt that I developed, which turned out to be pretty effective in bypassing multiple AI detection tools. So I'll show you the prompt. I explained how it's structured, why it's structured this way. So I'll teach you a little bit about AI writing and AI detection. And then we'll use ChatGPT and Claude to generate writing based on these prompts. And I'll show you how to set up Claude and ChatGPT so that it always writes this way. So you don't have to always prompt it. It just writes this way. It tries to write like a human every time you ask it to write something. And then we'll compare the outputs, the results of each of these tools and decide which one did better. So first I'll explain the prompt, then we'll see the results, and then I'll show you how to set up ChatGPT and how to set up Claude so that it always writes this way. You can copy and paste this prompt. I'll put it under the video. But very briefly, I'm just explaining that I want you to write like a human. I want you to avoid AI detection. So it's not that important, to be honest, how exactly you frame it. It will understand. What is more important are the actual guidelines. So if you watch my content, you'll understand all of them because I always talk about these things. These are just things off the top of my head. This is by no means a perfect prompt. So don't jump to the comments if it doesn't work for you, because you know that algorithms differ and they are constantly being updated, constantly changes are being introduced. It's never consistent. One prompt can be 100% effective on one day and then stop working on another. But what I hope to achieve from these videos, from sharing these videos, is for you to gain understanding of how it works so you can also edit these prompts and experiment with them. So there is, as always, a lot of attention on structure. I talk about using direct sentences, short sentences, long sentences, mixing them up. I often talk about burstiness and perplexity, surface level burstiness and perplexity, which is surface level structure and is the first step in overcoming and bypassing AI detection. I also do it when I manually work on text. I have a service where I can take your text and manually work on it so that it bypasses AI detection. I also teach about how to do it. So head over to my website. There are one-to-one sessions that I offer. There are monthly tutorials that I offer. So if you want to learn more about it, but of course I'm sharing that here on YouTube as well. So bear with me. Mixing clauses, mixing sentences, introducing a lot of variation. This is the key thing. Do not use contradictions because we want it to be academic. Mixing passive and active statement, again, is just making it sound like a human because this is burstiness. We write this way. We don't overlay just on one. One of the first things that I do when I manually edit text to bypass AI detection is I turn some sentences that are in passive, turn into active, and vice versa. Replacing AI sounding verbs, I just included just a few verbs I really didn't like, but this one is tricky. I wouldn't over focus on individual words because they keep being changed and updated. So I think there is too much focus on individual words when people talk about AI detection. Not to use phrasal verbs and idiomatic expressions, again, just to make sure it doesn't sound like a blog article, it sounds like an actual academic writing. A lot of variation, different sentences, how they start, how we string sentences together. Write clearly and concisely is the key. Among the key things or traits of AI writing that I often mention is redundancy. It loves to over-explain, talk too much, just like myself, to be honest. And we want it to write clearly and concisely. Avoid listing three things. Again, classic. It loves listing three things. I often taught you about removing these lists, breaking them down scattering across two sentences, removing one of the three things, whatever it is, whatever it takes to remove or get rid of that list of three things that AI absolutely loves. Just as stating what something was not before explaining what it was. It again loves doing that. It adds unnecessary drama. We just don't write this way. So we absolutely want to avoid these structures. Then, don't use the word, the expression extends beyond something. Just avoid it. I just don't like it, and you'll always find it in AI writing. Mixing structures, again, it's about coordinates, subordinate clauses and phrases. It's just about structure, the grammar of how we write, how AI writes. I have videos about pretty much every single one of these elements, every single one of these instructions if you want to dig deeper, but this will do for now. Just guiding the reader, as mentioned earlier, to summarize, just adding a little bit more logical flow, because again, AI likes to produce something that's quite disjointed and doesn't feel like it's guiding the reader, and we should be doing that in any case in academic writing. Paragraph level summaries and over explaining, avoid that. It loves doing that. That's why I usually reduce the word count significantly as I work on text manually. Mixing different lengths of sentences, but also of paragraphs. So it's about paragraph structure. They tend to be the same. Every section in AI writing tends to be very similar length. You'll see that from the text that we produce today that we'll have a look at shortly. Very similar number of paragraphs, usually 4 to 5, very similar length of paragraphs. In fact, every section produced by AI tends to be between 500 and 700 words. Again, just statistically too repetitive. Avoiding drama, inflated statements, suspense building, so none of these things. Sweeping generalizations and introductions that are inflated. It absolutely loves to start by over-explaining, making these huge claims. I have videos about these things as well. Do not use metaphors, dramatic hooks. Again, we want to keep it academic. So now we can look at what it produced for me. I will share how we can set it up this way shortly after we compare the results. For now, I just asked it write this paragraph, but it already knows to use this skill that I taught it. So I'll show you where to insert that prompt in a second, but this is what it produced for me. This is Claude, and you can see I told you about the paragraphs. The paragraphs are still too uniform, but I have to do with what I have. So this is output produced by Claude, and here we have output produced by ChatGPT. Each text is about the impact of social media on children or something like that. To be honest, I can't remember what I asked it to write. Academic paragraph that introduces the importance of monitoring children's use of social media. We just want to compare the results now. So first, let's go to Scribbr. So difficulty level is quite low. You may have heard me say many times that Scribbr is something that I include in my workflow as number one step. I like about Scribbr that it gives you the option to edit things live and just constantly rerun the test for AI content. I like it for this reason. However, Scribbr is definitely not something I would fully rely on. It's just first level of burstiness, perplexity, so structural changes that we introduce. It does not go as deep or dig as deep as other tools that combine statistical results and the frequency of use. I believe it to be quite basic, but useful at the same time. So difficulty level, easy. This is what Claude produced. So 29% on Scribbr is pretty good. Like I said, it's a good start. I'm not over the moon about this result, but it could as well be 100%. And I would also not be surprised. So I consider this to be some sort of success. Now, a Scribbr for ChatGPT produced an even lower score, 19%, which is, again, it's pretty good. A few months ago or a year ago, it was quite difficult to just take something that ChatGPT would produce and even bypass Scribbr AI detection. Now, it's just a sign of them becoming better and better, especially if you know how to guide them. But now let's move on to Copyleaks. Copyleaks is a completely different level of difficulty. It's a very professional tool. I use it a lot in my work. It's something that's pretty similar to Turnitin. So there will always be differences. They're always competing. There's always a game of cat and mouse between all these different tools. However, in general, it does tend to be fine-tuned to academic writing. It tends to be pretty similar to Turnitin. So lots of universities turn to Copyleaks as well. It's just a very professional tool. It gives you insights into specific phrases, and it just shows you just how complex and sophisticated this process of AI detection is in practice. So you can see here, and I'm not surprised. The first output, this was Claude, failed miserably, 100% on Copyleaks. No surprises there, like I said, for me, because Copyleaks is so professional. I would never expect this kind of output to actually bypass Copyleaks AI detection. But here is where a huge surprise comes, because the output produced by ChatGPT actually did that, 0%. Again, do not get too excited, because I'm not saying that this is a perfect prompt. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm still trying to understand how it did so well. And I believe it has to do with the length of the text. It's not too long, because as you can see here, the way it works, it combines different words and it just calculates statistical probability of all these words occurring. All these words occurring in a human text, and then all these words occurring together combined in one text. Based on that, it concludes that it's simply not possible that a human produced this. So it's a big part of how this algorithm works for Copyleaks. So I believe with less content, and it's a fairly short article, it just didn't have a chance to do that. Having said this, it's still an extremely impressive result, because even for short text, I would normally expect Copyleaks to show 100%. So now we're heading over to aidetector.com, a tool that combines results from multiple other AI detection tools. I also have to mention, because of transparency, that aidetector.com is a sponsor of this video. However, it has no impact of what I'm saying, of course, because we're talking about actually bypassing AI detection. But I have to mention that it is a useful tool because it combines, like I said, it gives credibility to these results. It helps achieve credibility by combining different results, so you can compare across different platforms, and they all have their algorithm changes and updates. So it's just useful to know how the scores combine and compare across platforms. It also has a useful option right here to fact check the writing, which is pretty cool, to be honest, because you know that AI writing can produce something that's not true. You can see that it's here explaining which of these claims are actually true and why this claim, for example, is not true, not real. So it's a useful little option. If you want to play around with this tool, there is a link in the description. It's not an affiliate link, so I won't be paid anything if you decide to buy it. So it's an honest opinion. So now let's get back to the results. So you can see AI detector itself, so it's built-in detector, gave us quite a high score. Again, no surprises because we know that it was written by AI, so 92%. Originality.AI, this one is a big surprise for me. I quite often criticize Originality because it's such an aggressive model. It tends to produce a lot of false positives, so accuse human writing of being AI writing. So 0% is pretty good. I'm really surprised. Winston AI, another one, I don't really recommend it. It's to me, it's too aggressive. Again, same problem. But here it's not wrong. It says 100% that confidence that it was written by AI. And ZeroGPT, again, quite a well-known one. I don't like it that much. Sometimes I have a problem with its consistency or lack of consistency, but it is a very well-known and recognized detector. Again, pretty tough to bypass, pretty strict. So 49%. So this is our Claude output, the one that got flagged as 100% on Copyleaks. Now we have our ChatGPT, so 94 compared to 92% on AI detector built-in algorithm. Originally, again, 0%. I'm surprised. I think they may have just slowed it down or something because I literally don't think I've seen it decide 0% for any text, to be honest. Winston is 50%, which is better than 100%. So 100% for the Claude output, 50% for ChatGPT output, and then ZeroGPT 50%, so roughly similar to the other output. But overall, we can conclude that ChatGPT did better. It did better definitely because it managed to bypass Copyleaks to start with, and then from these results, Winston was cut by 50% as well. So ChatGPT overall did better with these instructions. So now let's just have a look how you can set them up. So you can obviously just paste this prompt into the new chat for ChatGPT or Claude, or if you want it to be consistently writing this way, you can use one of the following options. So first, ChatGPT. So the best way to do it for ChatGPT is to go to projects. You can have different projects and just add a new project and call it, for example, human writer or whatever, and just call it human because I think I have a project called human writer. Create a project. And once you create a project, you can instruct it. You can add sources here. So you can add sources from text input, paste this prompt that I previously shared, call it something like my writing style, doesn't really matter, and save it. So from now on, this is a project. You would go to this project and start a new chat in this project if you wanted to write a chapter, a section for you, because once it does, it will draw from this writing style text file, so from these instructions. So that's how you use it in ChatGPT. Now in Claude, you'd go to customize, and once you go to customize, there are skills, and then you'd go to add a new skill, write skill instructions. You'd name a skill. Again, I'll probably call it human. Hopefully I can do it because I've already experimented with different names, and then paste the instructions as well as just paste some description explaining what the general point is. Such as here when I just say every time I ask you to write something, just make sure it sounds human and actively counter signs of AI writing. I already had the name, so I'll call it humans. And from now on, you would go to your normal chat with Claude. So there is no project. You just go to normal chat, explain what you want Claude to write for you. And once you're done explaining, you just press / on your keyboard and choose the skill that you want it to draw from. So that's how it works. And then just proceed as you would normally do in a normal chat, but it's already loading this humans skill that I created. So when it's writing, it's drawing from that skill. So this is it. I hope that you learned something new. Please like the video if you did, to help me grow this channel. Share it with others who may benefit and may need this kind of instruction. Ask me questions in the comments, ask me questions through my website. And don't forget that you can reach out and explore different services that I offer as well.